Here,
United Arts
that's what
Monthly
people look
Testimonials,
to now.
Guenet,
Yeah.
take one.
Just the freedom.
Welcome to Carnival. Yeah, I'm Guenet Gittens-Roberts and I'm the Chief.Experience.Officer of Orlando Carnival downtown.
Very cool.
I create the experiences.
Wonderful. What is Orlando Carnival downtown?
So Orlando Carnival downtown is a celebration of Carnival, that pre-Lenten festival that most people may call Mardi Gras. It's the same thing, but this is Orlando's own. So Orlando Carnival and then downtown because we are housed downtown.
So where did it all begin?
Orlando Carnival downtown is actually 38 years old. Our company, GGR Marketing Caribbean American Passport, we took over 6 to 7 years ago. And so while it's an old festival in Orlando, we've imbued something newer and fresher into it in the last few years.
Very cool. Why the Orlando area?
Orlando actually I think was a hub for folks coming down because of Disney, and so we've got a lot of Caribbean people here. The culture is very, very authentic. And that's really because I think at Disney and Universal, people were able to really commit to maintaining those cultural traditions. We have authentic steel pan players, we've got Moko Jumbies, all the elements that really go into Carnival. And then in their free time, they really built this festival. In the Caribbean, there's a saying, carnivals come when enough Caribbean people live in an area. A carnival usually pops up. It's the ultimate celebration of their culture. Across the Caribbean, I think it's the one place a lot of people find commonality. Most folks might not realize we have Indian, African, European, Black, we've got indigenous cultures. And so this melting and fusion of cultures is best expressed in Carnival.
Why Orlando? Why did you decide to do this?
So for me, Carnival became a space where I found this common Caribbean culture. In coming from Ghana, we do it in a more muted way, and every country, every area expresses Carnival in a way that's like symbolic to that area and to them. For me, I came here, did marketing, did a newspaper, but what I found is that when I tried to really find this Caribbean common experience, it was pulling me back to Carnival. And then once you get a taste of Carnival, you are hooked. Like, that's it. Because what happens is, I mean, even though we do the business end, so to speak, and I'm not on the road playing mass and stuff, there's just something powerful about this, creating this product. The energy, it's a buildup of energy that is then released on the road on Carnival Day. When it's over, all you want to do is start again. And so even if you're doing it from the business side, you get hooked. And so I came into it just to help the association that was actually doing it at the time, and got hooked, and I've been here ever since.
Why do you think that culture is so important to you?
Well, the culture is important to us because at Carnival time, the time leading up to it, it feels like we're going home. There's a way that we connect leading up to the Carnival Day. We meet at restaurants. There's this build up, this anticipation of Carnival Day of itself, which is Memorial Weekend. And there's so much community that happens. We get to talk, laugh, fight, argue, but it really is at its heart about building communities. For those who are familiar with Mardi Gras, they may know the crews kind of build up this. They may do things within the community. It's exactly the same in Carnival. You have different bands, and those different bands have different communities and different things that they do. And so it's about finding your band, finding your community. I'm lucky in that I get to experience all. And so once you experience it, you're hooked. And so that's really what happened with us. we did a lot of stuff that enhanced and built up the Caribbean community here. There are many Caribbean businesses, a lot of Caribbean people doing really great things, and it just wasn't known. This felt like it was the ultimate way that we could help to make our culture look better, stronger. And me as a marketing person, I had the tools to help to do that. In addition, I found that kids at college and stuff, this is in this carnival world is where they found, again, that common ground. And so I fell in love with doing it. I guess at my heart, I found that that's what I love. And so this gives me an opportunity to tell our history and our culture and our tradition, who we are, how you know we are, how soca is, this Indian and African sound, how new it is. Because for a lot of the Caribbean, we are now living history. Our culture is not very old. So it's telling the story of that culture, and again, I fell completely in love with that, and so that's why I'm here. I came from business background, marketing, public relations, adding that business structure to the festival was successful for us, and successful for our community, and successful for our children.
Why do you think it's important to keep telling that history?
People talk about it's important to tell that history because people talk about having strong roots, and this is a way for us to really imbue those roots into our families, our children, our communities. Carnival at its heart is also about being inclusive. A lot of folks don't realize that it's one of the oldest festivals. It's a pre-Lenten festival, started in Italy, right? So in the Caribbean, it came through the French, Spanish, Portuguese influences, and then mixed with the African, Indian, indigenous across the Caribbean. And so here we tell the story in America about just how inclusive that is, and how you can find commonality within different cultures and create this fusion, this melting pot, and not lose anything. And so I think that's what's important about Carnival. Most people don't get a chance to really explain why it's important. I thank you guys for giving me that chance, because I am like a nerd about this. So in Orlando is a very, very diverse space, and I feel like Orlando Carnival has taken on a special place in carnivals, as we would say, in the diaspora. And that's because, again, when you really understand Carnival, Mardi Gras, it's coming from really a European root, right? And so a lot of folks understand it when they see it, because, again, Italy, every French colony, every Spanish colony around the world has experienced Carnival, right? Or Mardi Gras. So folks from New Orleans, Alabama, they're very, very comfortable in what happens when they come into the Carnival experience. And then we say it's an Orlando festival at its heart, because there's so much diversity here. And so we make it something that feels very comfortable for folks to come and enjoy, and they get a taste of home. And funnily enough, it's not just Caribbean music, it's a lot of drumming at its heart. And so a lot of cultures have drumming as a base, the Chinese, the Indian, the African, but also European and other cultures. And so you feel that drumming, and we like to say the drumming is what you feel in the music when you step into the Orlando Carnival space, and that talks to everybody. Growing up in Guyana, we have something called Mashramani. And funny enough, it was actually introduced in a large way through one of my uncles, Jimmy Hamilton. It's not carnival in the way the Trinidadians understand it, or the other Caribbean islands understand it. It's more muted, but again, every space develops that carnival culture in their own way. In Guyana, we're a little shyer, and so we cover up a lot more than the Trinidadians would. You know, they're more exposed, less clothes and stuff like that. So from the time I was very young, Carnival in that Mashramani sense was a big part of my life. It's held in February. For most folks who understand the pre-Lenten period, that falls before Ash Wednesday. And so Guyana didn't follow that traditional one because it actually, Mashramani falls on our Republic anniversary. But across the Caribbean, usually it's just before Lent. It's actually the exact day before Lent because it's going into Ash Wednesday and right into Lent. And so for me, again, every February, Mashramani in Guyana was the thing. And so that's my first introduction to Carnival.
And then how has that changed over the years for you as well?
What has changed for me is that coming to America, being a part of diaspora, as we call it, the Caribbean diaspora, it's no longer just about what I celebrated in Guyana. It's actually seeing that what I celebrated in Guyana, as much as I did not have access to somebody living all the way in Dominica or in Haiti or Trinidad and Tobago, it's interesting to see how many similarities we share. How something like the Moko Jambi, which is actually something all the way from Africa, withstood the test of time, and we can find it in all of these countries. That part is stunning to me. And so
when you get into the spirit of the carnival, that celebration, there's a freedom that comes with it, that you release your inhibition, so to speak. And it's like in that couple hours of carnival, it's like basking in the relief.
That's
you
what
forget
it is. It's very
if you got
transcendent.
sickness in your family, financial problems, if you don't have whatever it is, it's like
you're free.
That
You're
freedom,
free.
and that's something we
that's
just
the high I think that people keep going back to.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we talked about your first touch point. We talked about what's going on now. I want to hear about some moments of doubt. So has there ever been a time where maybe Carnival couldn't happen?
Oh, definitely. What has happened is that for us, Carnival is an investment, so to speak, in that we want to make sure it's done at a certain level. We want to make sure that it's done in the right space to grow. And so when we took over the festival years ago, we invested a lot into making sure that it could happen in the way that it needed to. In terms of doubts, our entire family looked at us as if we were crazy because this is to them a festival, a music festival, and we're saying, yes, we're losing money on it because it has to be at this level. And so there were many moments of doubt. And I'll honestly say if it was not for the funding that we received from United Arts, we wouldn't be able to do this in the right artistic way that we would want to. We would have had to commercialize this event just to make the money to pay the bills. And so when we were experiencing the most doubt is probably when our first grant came in.
And was that grant through United Arts?
Yes.
That
grant was through United Arts.
Talk to me about that first time. How did you even hear about United Arts?
We heard about United Arts because we've again been just building nonprofits, building community, so to speak. My husband Sam and I, we were part of the team that helped to come up with the idea of Fusion Fest. And we were on that first planning year of Fusion Fest, just getting that pushed. And so we kind of really saw, so this is how the grant process works. And through that, we were also able to meet a lot of folks in the circle of the arts and stuff. And that's really how we got introduced to it, through Orange County Arts and Cultural Affairs, Derry Olson's office, and that space. And so once we got in there, the first year, we realized that we had been doing something that qualified as an event that could be funded. But we had been doing it for years and just didn't know. And so the first year that we put in our application, a lot of folks said, no, wait a little bit more and get comfortable. We thought, no, let's just try our best and see. And I remember it was right at the desk behind me. Our entire family sat and put our finger on that mouse to click to just send it. And we thought we'd never get it. And when we walked into the room to present, a lot of people that we knew who were in the room said, "We can't believe this is your first time here, because we had just expected that you guys had been funded years ago, and that's how you were operating." I said, "No, the community for us, and luckily for us, the community stood very strong behind us to help present this festival, because what happens is a lot of our businesses benefit when people come to town. You know, the restaurants, the lead up actually to the festival, the restaurants benefit a lot as well, because people just go out, they enjoy the culture, and that means eating at the Caribbean restaurants in Orlando, going to the clubs, the Caribbean clubs, and so they really feel an economic benefit from this festival."
Great. When was that? What period of time was that?
When our first grant?
Yeah.
Our first grant, I would say 3 years ago.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Why then, after doing the event with no grant funding?
The reason we applied for the first grant really was just because we found out that we could. We had no idea. We were operating in this space, and I think we were just inundated with just trying to get it done and not being exposed to the fact that it could be funded. It was just a matter of not knowing.
How did you find out that you could?
We found out through Orange County Arts and Culture, and really working closely, I would say, with Fusion Fest, and realizing that it being repeated over and over, and us understanding that, well, why not try, you know, and also knowing that you had to really be a nonprofit. Sometimes just the simplest things, you have to be a nonprofit in order to qualify. And before, we were just an organization doing a festival that was cultural, and that we just had this expectation that we had to uphold our culture here and do it in a positive way. It was not the only cultural event that we'd been a part of. We've done lots of cultural events across the years. That one was just really the most expensive to do, and so needed way more from everyone in the community to do at the level that it needed to be done.
Tell me about that move with the rain and having to move the event to the Amway.
So that was the 1 year that I think we were celebrating our 5th anniversary, and we had booked our largest artist, Machel Montana, which was like the Beatles of the soca world. And it was raining. It was raining in 2018, I think it was raining repeatedly. And we'd usually do this festival at Tinkerfield, and the folks there said, if it's huge trucks, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of work, and they said if there's one more day of rain, this festival will be canceled. And then the artist also said to us, if it rains the way it's raining, I will not go on stage.
And that was done in a week. Monday, and the weekend was the event.
Yeah.
So that was the part where I was like, holy crap, how can we do this?
And I mean, this has been all of this money poured into the artists. And, you know, with the help of the venues, which is Camping World, now the Kia Stadium, we were able to move the festival actually into the Amway Arena, just so that in the case of rain, all of this money that we had put out for the artists and the event, it could go on. And it rained all the way up until I think it was, we needed 1 week or 5 days of dry time. It rained all the way up until that 5 days of dry time. We got the 5 days of dry time, but we had still just moved it inside. We never got rain that day. But talk about doubt, that was really just, I would say, one of the scariest moments. Because if we had actually, because it was really our own funds, we had invested in that festival and everything, and if we had lost that, then we probably would not have been able to do that festival again. You know, we were just one big loss away from never being able to do it. And I think those are the things too that led to us really saying, alrighty, if we really want to do this right, we have to get help.
I think that was a great answer.
Yeah.
I think that was a great succinct way to put that.
Can I ask very briefly?
Mm-hmm.
And it may be no, but did United Arts assist you in any way in helping you with the grants or any, I don't know, sometimes we provide advice, other stuff, sometimes not. I'm just curious if that was a part of it.
So United Arts, when we actually took over the festival as well, one of the things that we did is we had Trudy and we had Terry actually come out and judge, because the festival has a lot of different components. There's an artistic side where designers locally actually build the costumes that you see behind us. And so we had Trudy and Terry come out and judge those competitions. And I would say they've been really, like, especially Trudy, a backbone of just guiding, being just really focused on, yeah, you can do it. Just try, and no, this is wrong, or get these things in order. I am blown away with how much she has helped, and they've been just in the background guiding and really just like cheering you on and wanting you to be successful at it.
Why do you think United Arts does that?
Orlando really is a special place. I would say this is one of the best cities to live in, and I think because at its heart, it understands culture, it understands diversity. It's not afraid of that. It's welcoming of it, and I think this city is really built in that way in a lot of ways. And so I just think at its heart, it's rooted in what this city believes in, which is being open to the arts and understanding culture and understanding that we are different and we are similar in all at the same time. And I know that they're led by that. A day in my life.
Yeah.
So usually I am not necessarily the person who works on the costumes for Carnival season. But a day in my life definitely starts out with just being on the phone, especially as we're leading up to festival time. It's reaching out to sponsors. It is marketing. It's marketing predominantly. It is, because this event is more than a festival, it's so deeply emotional to us. It's building community. It really is talking with our bands, our band leaders, as we like to call them, and their family. Talking about their struggles. Are they selling? Because a lot of times what we're doing is building them up to be business people in this. It is talking to our vendors, having them understand that they are business people as well. Folks here don't necessarily talk often about that orange economy, which is that creative and the arts economy. But a lot of folks in that orange economy aren't business focused, right? They're more creative. And with me coming from the background as the Caribbean American Chamber president, I'm able to marry the two, this creative and the business part. And so there's a lot of mentoring that happens for our business community in my day. And then there's mentoring for college students, which has become a real passion of ours. How do we connect them to their culture? How do we teach them to be respectful of it? How do we teach them that they're stewards of telling their cultural story? And so now the creative piece for me has become a part of my day, because I take in old costumes from festivals around the world, and we help the students to have their carnival. And so a lot of folks in college then find their career. You go to college and you find yourself. A lot of folks find their Caribbean uniqueness. Like, it might have been poured into them from their parents and they rejected it all the way through. But in college, they find it a lot of times and they want to express it in this carnival experience. And so we do about 20 costumes to UF for their carnival and their kings and queens, their pageants and stuff. This year we're also going to be doing them to Northwestern University all the way in Chicago. And so a lot of my day now becomes, how do I manage that and not have it overtake my life? Because I didn't know I would love to work on costumes. And so I do a lot of that as part of my day as well. And I have 2 grown children, so, and a husband, and a team that still does marketing and video production and that kind of stuff. We still run a newspaper, so we still tell Caribbean stories, Caribbean American stories, and especially stories of people in Orlando.
Why do you feel connected to helping those young kids find their roots through this?
I feel connected to it because I think I saw the spark in my kids when the culture became something not that they were ashamed of, but that they could actually feel very, very proud of. So that, I would say, is the catalyst that started it. And then it became something that we could do with them. We became exceedingly cool parents when we got into this carnival world. And so we don't just do Orlando Carnival with our family. We do Miami. We do a lot of different carnivals with them. And that's our vacation time. Like on the stage when this festival is almost, there's a sweet spot if you do festivals where it may be just in that last hour where you don't really have to do anything else. The festival is running itself. It's almost over. A year of work is at its end. And if you go back to some of our videos, you'll find our entire family on the end of the stage. And this is wider than just my kids. It's actually the family of staff and stuff. We're on the end of the stage and we're just like in this moment. And again, we're hooked because there's such a freedom. People find it in different parts of Carnival. I find it in the production end. And so there's this freedom that comes that, so it's almost like you end up chasing that high of that freedom that comes in creating this event.
Why did you think it was important to keep your kids involved?
For me, it was a chance for them to stay connected to their culture and to understand that there are so many mixtures, right? And I don't want them to just think of themselves as one thing. And as this world has become increasingly polarized, I realize we've done the right thing. They're a mix of Portuguese ancestry, African ancestry, Indian ancestry, white ancestry, black ancestry. And in the Caribbean is one place where we're that melting pot, where we're able to really say, we've really gone through this, and we understand that you can be all of that. You don't have to choose one thing. And that, I think, is a story that right now America needs to hear even more. And what we did, and if you ask our kids and you ask people around us, they'll tell you that's like one thing that is really, really, really a sticking point for us. If you see someone, whether they're saying anything is better than the other, you shut it down right there. And so that's just a big piece that we've helped to craft a whole generation that understands that we could be everything that we are, and nothing's better than the other or so, right? It's just, this is a unique blend, and all these cultures could coexist together and create something that is so much fun. And the Caribbean has done that, and we could help, I think, the wider world experience that.
Why do you think staying connected to your roots helps with that?
I think staying connected to my roots helped with it because in Guyana we grew up. If you were Christian, you still practiced everything. Not practiced. You enjoyed everything that a Hindu person did. So you went to something called Pagwa, the Holy Festival. You went to Diwali. Like right now, I know that my friends who are Muslim, Ramadan ends in a week. Like, that's just knowledge I have because we would look forward to the ending of Ramadan because it meant you were at someone's house eating all this food and the sweet meats and all of that stuff. So we immersed completely in different cultures, and it never took away from our own, right? And so Hindus and Muslims also celebrated Easter. They celebrated Christmas. The Dragon Parade for the Chinese New Year passed right in front of my house every year. Those were just things I experienced as just life, that you could completely immerse and never lose yourself. And so I am just grateful that that's part of my roots, and that I get to tell people and share that with people.
Caribbean students come from the Caribbean here. And the same thing we try to instill in our children, understanding how they need to find that home away from home. Carnival and the cultural events we do, give them a chance to.
That's where they want to be met, so we meet them where they want to be met.
That's what they know, but they're coming into an environment where, okay, this is different. I don't know how. Where do I fit in here? Don't change who you are. Just find a space within what's here to be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what Carnival and the cultural events we do. To
Find
me, that's
your
what
tribe.
it does.
Find your tribe.
Find what works for you. You're from England. What made you do this? It's something that gives you that, and that's it. It's like whatever it is that identifies with that part of you that makes you who you are.
Then you could authentically share with everybody from a happy space. I think that's what we're after. Just having people be authentic and share their joy.
I love that line. That's getting into the fine line. Share their joy. That's great. Okay, we talked a lot about where the past, about the present. I want to look towards the future a little bit. What are some of the goals of the organization?
So looking forward for us, one of the things that got fast-tracked because of COVID that we were planning to do is that we really turned the festival into 3 days of events. And the Friday night is something called Carnival on the Runway. It is very arts focused, creative focused. It deals with designers recreating their costumes that they've worn before. All the costumes you see around us have been worn multiple times, and they're still in great condition, but usually they're discarded, or people may hang them up, you know, in their homes. This is a way for you to repurpose it, reuse it, or redesign and start from scratch. And we do a cash prize of $3,000 for the best designer. The reason is we want to focus everyone on this is the arts. It's a creative endeavor. Saturday morning we do something called Juve. Juve is really very, very Caribbean in its origins, right? The Carnival and Mardi Gras style is more of the prettier look, but in the Caribbean, they really went with this early morning party where they would cover themselves in mud and paint and powder, and in countries like Grenada, oil, black oil. And so that's Juve. We can't go as early as it would happen in the Caribbean, but we start that at 8-9 o'clock in the morning at Tinkerfield. And it is a very freeing experience. People throw paint and water and powder on each other and just dance. That part is really just freeing. The Saturday afternoon, we do a cultural event, a really cultural telling of our who we are through art and dance and music, and that's done on the lawns of Dr. Phillips. And then on Sunday, it's the Carnival parade and concert. So those other events help to really tell the story of who we are, what this is, and so that people don't just think that it's a party in the park. And so we want to really build on those in a deeper way and really tell those stories. And again, if not for funding, we would not be able to do that. We would really just have to focus on bringing an artist in from overseas that people wanted to pay admission to just go to the park to see. We get to now really play with the arts and the creative piece, and that's the piece we want to delve deeper into. We get to tell photographers, and we do this, hey, we know that this is something where the girls, you know, are in skimpy wear, but don't focus on that, because you're really telling the story of the culture. Focus on the joy in their faces. Everything else is clickbait, and when you focus on the joy, you really see that these people are transcended. And so, you know, it again gives us that time to focus, slow down, and tell that story. And that's really what we want to do, because again, this is the story of our culture.
You touched on it a little bit, but how is United Arts helping you get there?
United Arts is helping us get there because it took the focus off of paying the venue. Really, I would say, if we did not have Camping World to do this at, it would be an intrusive event. Bass is a big part of just that feeling of that drum and beat, and that can't be done in every environment. So where Camping World is, Paramore, we've done this festival there as again for 38 years. It's grown up in that community. That community is a part of it. They look forward to it. Camping World by itself, actually, because they do festivals and stuff, it's a great environment for it. For the growth pattern of it as well, where how we can grow, and our parade on the street has like about 6 to 8 trucks. We need to have a footprint that can really take that on. But that's an expensive venue, and we're competing with. One year, I think we were competing with the Beatles, wanted to do a concert there, or Paul McCartney wanted to do a concert there, or Shakira. So the cost of that venue is high, and as much as they want to support us, they've got to pay bills. So we've got to be able to pay that venue. If not for the United Arts funding, I don't think we'd probably be able to sustain that venue without just scrambling to commercialize the event and not have it really have that arts and cultural root to it.
With that, what does life look like for you without United Arts?
Wow. Arts. What does life look like for us? I wouldn't want to think of it, because really it means that the time that we spend mentoring throughout the year, the time that we get that relief of just, we don't have to focus to just commercialize this event, means that there's not this huge push for, while sponsorship is important, right? And we do go after sponsorship dollars. Because again, what folks don't understand, the United Arts Grant mentors you in marketing, it mentors you in making sure that your nonprofit runs correctly, it mentors you in ensuring that you're fundraising as well. But what it gives us that relief to do is to really work on the mentoring part of this program year round with this festival. And so it would mean that we couldn't do what we did with the kids, because we wouldn't be able to focus. We just have to focus on the funds for that festival. If it got rained out, then we lost the admission tickets. It would have an entirely different tone to it. Definitely. One of the things too that just having the ability to mentor different things is that we were able to actually do the first reality show for the carnival world. And that was able to be done in Orlando. And I like to say it is because of the support of that we get for the arts and stuff. That we were able to take the time, and again, for most people who do events, they know if you don't have that ability to have that time to put in to grow your event in an organic way, because you're just focused on the dollar, it's an entirely different event. So this reality show was actually able to run in 30 different countries across the Caribbean, and they were able to see Orlando. We took them to the Wells Built Museum. We explained about how, that was a cultural mecca for Black artists in history, and that, Orlando Carnival was able to grow in this same space 38 years ago. They welcomed us, and in return, I think like a lot of the folks in our community helped to do the MLK parade over time, and we continuously give back in those ways. We're part of growing the Pine Hills parade. We took them into Pine Hills, which is primarily a Caribbean area. We took them to some of the nonprofits over there and just showed them Orlando in a different way. And they were able to experience the festival. Folks from Toronto, the Virgin Islands, Miami were able to come and play mass and be filmed doing it, and experience the fact that as much as this is a diaspora carnival, as we're called, it really is a carnival that retains a lot of the influences of the Caribbean carnivals. And if we didn't have the ability to just focus on the arts, we would never have been able to show the world that about Orlando. And that's because, again, Orlando is different from the rest of the United States in that we were able to retain a lot of cultural authenticity because of the theme parks, because of the commitment to the arts here.
Road Ready TV approached us, and we welcomed them in, and we kind of took the lead with them to help develop that the first issue of it. So
yeah. And I am an executive producer on it as well. So there's a mix up of that week. So there's a reality show that, again, they tried to get this reality show done in a lot of different spaces, but could not. Orlando, we were able to do it here because we had the time to be able to find spaces for them to have an experience at some of our businesses, and if we just didn't have the time to be able to devote to not just focus on, you have to raise a certain amount of money, which is the reality for a lot of reality shows. If you don't raise approximately $250,000, you can't go in and just film a show in a space. They were able to come in here probably having raised maybe about 15 to 20,000 and produce something that was able to be shown across the world, because we were able to help them to get that done. And that show is now 3 years old, and it has gone on to film in Miami, in Jamaica, and but it really had its start right here in Orlando, and Orlando is a big part of where they film every year. They're going to be back here again this year to film.
What did they feature with you guys?
So with Road Ready, what they featured, they came out and they had folks try the different events, and they had folks who have done Carnival in the past. They had folks who did it from more the DJ aspect. One of the guys did it from that perspective, but he never played mass. And then they had a person, Corvea, who was new to the culture. She had never done it. Her roots are more from Puerto Rico, but more American. She had never done it at all. And so you're seeing it unfold from her eyes. First, where she's like, you guys are everybody's dancing with everybody and dancing on everybody. This is weird. To where you saw her experience, this is transcendent. What is this? And I can tell you guys, ever since then, she's been back to our carnival every year.
Love that.
And one of the things the idea behind it was pull 8 random people. I think they started with ID APRA together to do an experience carnival. So that was the concept behind it. And what was saying is like you're getting people with different backgrounds, different exposure to carnival, and seeing them come in from a first time experience, and they might have been, one was a DJ, never really did carnival, he was a DJ, but now he's coming and he's getting to experience that whole carnival is, doing all the events. And what we were able to do is help them do that, and some of our local businesses helped by hosting them to make the experience something they wouldn't have to pay for.
Yeah, if we couldn't get that done, and again, it's a testimony to Orlando. Orlando was able to do that.
Great. I'm going to jump into my little game at the end here, and we'll throw a nice little easy one. It's going to be finish the sentence. So I'm going to give you the very beginning, just repeat it, and then finish out on through. Through partnering with United Arts.
Through partnering with United Arts, we have just been able to grow from the business side, the professional side, and certainly the cultural side.
Great. The next one's a two-parter. My mission through working with the organization is?
My mission through working with Caribbean American Passport Multicultural is to not just preserve Caribbean culture, but to find common ground in cultures and to showcase that.
And United Arts helps me achieve that by?
United Arts helps me achieve that by really helping us to focus on the culture and not the commercial.
Those are some fairly succinct answers. I love to play this game where I'm going to give you one word. You're going to sit for a second. You're just going to stew, let some thoughts come in, have a little brain blast.
Okay.
And then you'll just give back to me the thoughts that come into your mind.
Okay.
All right. First one. Carnival.
Carnival. Oh gosh, did you see me smile? Carnival. Celebration. Freedom. Just being yourself.
Freedom.
Freedom. Just being authentic. Whoever you are, whatever you are, just being. Just not thinking about it. Just being authentically you.
Heritage.
Heritage. Just who you are, who your people are, and that changes. I would like to say that Orlando now is a part of my heritage. I love to share with people that because I lived in New York, being a New Yorker is part of my heritage. So not just being a Guyanese, and actually because I live in America and I'm part of so many Caribbean cultures, feel like my heritage is even richer and wider now.
Home.
Home is that's a ticklish one for an immigrant, right? Because a lot of times you think of home as where you come from, right? So for a lot of years home was Guyana. Now home is Orlando. So home is where our people are. The most important people to us. That's home.
I'm curious if you could speak to, this is a very big topic. Why do the arts matter and why should people support it?
Okay. So for me, I came into just working in the arts from the business side of it. And if you probably take a look at some of the awards that we have in the room here, it's from so many diverse organizations. And that's because what we would do from the business end of the Caribbean American Chamber and our newspaper, Caribbean American Passport, is we would go in and support like the Pagua Festival. The Pagua Festival used to be held right at Tinkerfield. It came to a point where they just couldn't afford to do it anymore. For a lot of older Indian, Caribbean people, that was their one time to come out and really just celebrate culture, tell their kids this is where you're from, keep that connection. They lost that space just because they couldn't afford it over time. We helped with the African fashion shows just because, again, if you can't afford to do these things, you really lose a big connection with culture. And then what happens is the folks who understand how to just do commercially, those are the ones who really just tell the story of the culture. And that's not a way of connecting in the community. What I love now is that folks understand the value of cultural tourism. They understand that cultural tourists actually spends more to get, in a deeper. They will spend more in the restaurants. They will spend more in the communities. They'll spend a bit more time. That's understood now in a way that it wasn't understood before. And so a lot of the rich cultural events that were here, we've actually seen die because they just didn't have funding. And I can tell you, because I'm coming from it as an immigrant, when I came here, what made me feel most comfortable here was the fact that I could find home in those cultural experiences. So I may have dipped into it and dipped out, but I was able to find it and get that hit that you need of home, right? And it could be in the taste of your food, it could be in the sound of your music, it could be seeing people and hearing people that speak like you. But it just gives you that that hit on your heart to go back into the world and just live again and do everything that you need to do. Without it feels very cold to live in a city that's not your home. But Orlando, for me, when I came here, gave me that in spades. And so I want folks to understand that when you really donate, you really help to give people that hit of home, because again, that's what cultural experiences do. And you don't know who needs it and how important it is. And so that's really what United Arts is doing. And again, I'm thankful that folks actually visit Orlando to be able to experience it. And so people understand now that it was always funded in tourism. It just wasn't understood because we couldn't tell those stories. United Arts has allowed us to tell those stories. You guys allow us to tell these stories. And it's important that it's told.
Every culture that comes here is fused with the influence of other cultures. Like Fusion Fest, the idea behind Fusion Fest was, okay, you might be from England, we're from Guyana, Israel is from Puerto Rico, but you are no longer British alone. You've been here, you've come here, and now you're influenced by the fact you got a Puerto Rican photographer. He's influenced by the fact that he's dealing with a British person, a director. I'm influenced by the fact that I'm hanging out with Virgin Island folks and Terry, who's from Alaska. So it's like every touch point you get in a multicultural environment like Orlando changes you from being that person, and you are now uniquely Orlandian, if there's such a word, because that you can't help but be influenced by that, and that's what makes Orlando and what United Arts is doing so important, because it's creating a totally unique cultural environment that's influenced by so many different facets of the world. Because again, I don't want to hit Fusion Fest. You got Asian, you got Russian, you got German, you got Indian, you got Japanese, and everybody's putting a little into it that is like, that's a melting pot of flavors that are like, that's
and we really did that with something called Caribbean American Heritage Month, and that's where we celebrated all the different influences of the Caribbean. And that's really where we spun off and suggested the Fusion Fest concept, because it's like what we're doing here just in the Caribbean is what is happening in a wider sense in Orlando with all those different cultures.
The Caribbean Pathway Multicultural Initiative is the nonprofit. The Carnival is one of the events, or is our biggest fundraising event for the nonprofit.
CAP Multicultural, which is our nonprofit arm that really supports creative arts and culture in the Caribbean American community here, especially in Orlando. That's our focus. And we focus in on just throughout the year teaching the arts and culture that you see expressed in our biggest fundraiser at the Orlando Carnival downtown. So it's bending the wire to make a costume, it's the drumming, it's learning that piece. Steel pan was invented in the Caribbean in the last 50 to 100 years. That's the newest instrument invented around the world. Teaching those classes here, just unfolding the culture and teaching it, not just having them experience it on the day of. For us, Orlando Carnival becomes the dominant thing in every conversation just because of how big it is, but it really is the event that's our biggest fundraiser for the work that we do in our nonprofit, which is really the arts and the cultural aspect of Caribbean culture, and as we explained, how it goes into all those different Indian, African, all the different cultures. And for us, it's about teaching. We want to do steel pan classes. We do some. We want to do more. African drumming, Indian drumming, which is Tassa drumming. Something called rhythm section for us is that we beat drums on just any kind of small instrument, but it's cultural, so we're teaching more of those things. The Mokojambi classes, which is stilt walking, all of those fun aspects that you see in the actual parade, we're building out throughout the year and teaching those. So that's really how people stay in touch with the culture. And when they get together, they understand, again, that this is how similar we are across cultures. Orlando Carnival Downtown is a 3-day, 4-festival, creative set of events that celebrate Caribbean culture, but Caribbean culture in Orlando. So we say it's a Caribbean American Orlando Festival. It celebrates all of who we are, and everyone's welcome and comfortable. We have designers from actually every culture. We've got American designers, we've got Indian designers, we've got folks coming in from Canada, all to participate in this experience on Memorial Weekend. So on Friday, Carnival on the Runway kicks off with fashion on the runway. It's carnival wear, it's big headpieces, it's dance. We actually delve into music production in that event as well. We talk about how producers years ago just didn't have rights, and so that's why a lot of folks have to keep performing. So we kind of have the culture, but we instill a lot of business into it. On Saturday, it's Juve, it's a lot of dance. On Saturday afternoon, cultural explosion, arts, dance, music, food on the lawns of Dr. Phillips, and then the big shebang on Sunday. Big parade in the streets, food festival, music festival, and it's just a lot of fun. You guys have to come.